and welcome to the Roy Rogers Riders Club.
Thrill again to the thundering hooves and cattle stampedes, barroom brawls, and shootouts of classic Western features and TV shows. Annie Oakley, Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, John Wayne, and all their cowboy pals and sidekicks roam the West once more. Heroes never die on Comedy MX channels. They just ride off into the sunset.
The immortal pen of James Fenimore Cooper brings you thrilling tales of excitement, blazing action on the early American frontier, stirring adventures filled with the daring and courage of Hawkeye, first of the long rifles, and his blood brother, Chingachgook, last of the Mohicans.
We can talk better without guns, Barton.
I got nothing to say to you.
You might be a whole lot safer talking for a cane instead of against him. Voting for him be even better.
I'd rather be dead than vote for that swine. No! You're breaking my arm!
A man's neck breaks just as easy. Now, who are you going to be voting for?
I'm losing my patience, Bart. Now, let me hear it. Who are you going to be voting for? Kane.
The whole thing louder and clearer.
I'm voting for Ryder Kane.
Just the way I'm going to want to hear you say it at the assembly meeting. Just don't forget, it ain't everywhere in the world a man's got the right to vote the way he sees fit.
Sun is at top. Why we hurry? We reach settlement before dark anyway.
Yeah, I guess I have been pushed a little, Chingachgook. Well, we never been to Hopeville before. Figured on getting there before dark and doing a little sightseeing.
Oh, all village same. We see many. Houses, roads, people. Huh. One tree and forest. Much better.
I don't hanker spending too much time in towns myself. It doesn't look like he's hunting four-legged game, does it? Here come the sitting ducks now.
He stopped ducks.
I'll take care of that bushwhacker.
Sam Barton, the dirty bushwhacker.
It appears to me he's the victim of his own ambush. That shot, did you?
His gun went off out of plain surprise. But he did run into my fist. He'll be coming to in a minute.
Why, that low-down ambushing skunk.
He might be all you say he is, mister. But that's no reason to mark yourself with murder.
It ain't murder to kill a snake before he gets his fangs into you.
Snake? Skunk? All I see lying there is a human being with a right to a fair trial no matter what he's done.
I'll give him a fair trial. Let's take him in, Mr. Cake.
Chingachgook and me are heading for Hopeville. Be no trouble at all for us to take him in.
I'm the one he tried to murder, stranger. And I'm the one that's going to take him in. Now get out of my way.
Lyman, does it matter who takes Barton into the sheriff?
Well, how do we know this stranger ain't going to turn him loose?
I'm sure he won't. After all, he did save us from an ambush. Look me up when you get to Hopeville. I'd like to thank you properly. Ask anybody there for Ryder Kane.
Angry one. A bay, smooth-tongued one. Like squaw.
There's power in that smoothness, Chingachgook. Like a fine steel blade. All right, Mr. Barton. You can stop playing possum and get to your feet now. It's safe. They've gone.
Reckoned I'd live a mite longer playing dead. I don't know if I should thank you for keeping me from damning my soul as a bushwhacker or to cuss you for stopping me from stamping out them two vermin.
Mr. Barton, I'd choose thanking, because I don't hold a bushwhacking any more than I do shooting a man when he's lying down.
It weren't easy forcing myself to wait for them behind that tree. My insides are tortured. Part of me knowing I got no right to take human life. But most of me hoping the good Lord will have mercy on me for ridding this territory of the evil of Ryder Kane.
We've heard of Ryder Kane. Could be part of the reason why we're headed for Hopeville.
What business would you have with Ryder Kane, stranger?
Don't know yet. Got a letter from a friend of ours asking us to come here. Seems he didn't care much for Ryder Kane either.
Ain't nobody in Hopeville put anything in writing against Kane.
Seems you don't know Miles Gentry.
Who be you, stranger?
I'm called Hawkeye. This is my blood brother, Chingachgook.
Miles talked about you off and on some time back. Guess I don't have to worry about you turning me over to the sheriff now.
Mr. Barton, when a man takes the law into his own hands, he's got to answer for it.
You don't mean that. Turning me over to the sheriff's like throwing me into a lion's den.
I gave my word I'd bring you in. But I'll see that you get a fair trial.
If I live that long. Kane's got the sheriff in his pocket, same as he's got the rest of Hopeville.
Mr. Barton, I've never lost a wager playing on the side of the law. I've got nobody's word but yours that the law's playing a crooked game in these parts.
What if Miles Gentry backed me up? Would you believe me then?
Like the gospel.
I'll take you to him. It's right on the way into town. Told you I'd take you to Miles Gentry. Well, there he is. You see what's written there? Them's his own words.
It was like he was expecting to be killed.
There's Will Hawkins. Will could have told you about Ryder Kane. Or Chub Wilson. My brother. He believed in Ryder Kane, worked for him. And when he found out what Kane was up to, it tore him up all inside. He ran to get as far away as he could. But Kane and his men caught up to him. Would you call me bushwhacker for trying to rid ourselves of this murderer?
What you say is true, Mr. Barton. No jury would pin that name on you.
Them jurymen will be thinking of their own necks, not mine. Kane's got a plan, Hawkeye. He runs Hopeville. And day after tomorrow, when he gets himself named permanent chairman of the assembly, he'll have his grip over the whole territory. And everybody at his mercy. Bleeding every shilling and farthing he can out of our sweat and toil.
You got any proof of this?
A letter my brother sent me before he was killed.
Well, anybody could write anything in a letter. Kane would just laugh it off.
Ralph knew Kane was going to kill him. He wrote that down. And he told everything about how Kane planned these murders. Naming names, giving dates. Even about Miles Gentry. I got the letter same day Miles was killed.
Then that letter would be valuable evidence in a court of law. I'd like to see it.
Where I've got it hid is in the opposite direction from the jail.
I reckon it'll have to keep, Barton.
That's the power of a lie. Just what I expect from him. He's a troublemaker, he is. Ask anybody in town.
I'm not interested in opinions off the street. I merely mentioned the notion of Mr. Barton's that jail cell might be his coffin.
I'm only the sheriff, not judge and jury. I'll lock him up. Court decides what to do with him.
You mean Ryder Kane tells you what to do?
I'm beholden to no man. This is a peaceable town. We never have no trouble. Except with him. He never did have no respect for the law, never will. Give you my hand. No harm will come to him whilst he's in my jail.
And here's mine. If any accidents happen to Mr. Barton, you'll have to answer to me personally. We'll look in on you.
Get in that cell.
Hello there. My pleasure, gentlemen. Have a seat. No need for ceremony, especially since I have my life to be grateful for. I take it Barton's in jail?
That's right. We just left the jail.
I could have saved you that piece of travel. If you hadn't stuck your nose in and let me finish that dirty bushwhacker.
Lyman, the matter's settled. We're all friends here at this table. Jenny, a couple of pints of ale for my friends here, and don't skimp the brim.
Never mind, Jenny. Thanks just the same.
What brings you to Hopeville?
Just looking the country over.
You'll be moving on soon, then?
We might. And again, we might not.
What business you got here?
Man of forest not have business. Come to town, look over. Maybe stay, maybe go.
I've just realized. You know my name, and Brett Lyman's, but we neglected to learn yours.
He is called Hawkeye by all Indian tribes.
This is my Mohican brother, Chingachgook.
Hawkeye, eh? That ought to mean you got pretty sharp eyes. You see that dark spot over there? And that's without looking.
That's a pretty good toss. Chingachgook and me haven't had much of a chance to look around town, so we'll be getting along. Chingachgook. Here's yours, Mr. Lyman. Good day, gentlemen. Keep out of his way, Lyman. But make sure that he stays out of ours. Let's mosey over there and see if we can find out why these folks act like we got the plague.
It's not plague. All people in this town afraid, like elk, when not have leader. Scatter when wolf attack.
A wolf won't attack an elk herd with a king elk leading them. Maybe that's what this town needs. Someone they can trust. Someone who'll make them stand up together and fight. Remember that town that we stopped at early this morning? Remember the man that we spoke to?
Hmm?
Everyone in the colonies will listen to him. Go and get him, Chingachgook. Tell him what's happening here. I'm sure he'll come back with you.
Well, what my brother do?
I'm going to get that letter from Mr. Barton.
I command thee, stop!
Hawkeye, the letter. Storage shed. Loose board.
Fine. I signed his death warrant, turning him over to you.
He tricked me. Got out of his cell. I ordered him to stop. He'd got away if I hadn't shot him.
Maybe you didn't listen when I told you I'd hold you to account for anything that happened like this. You'll go to the gallows, Sheriff, along with those you're working for.
All right, stop shaking. That there Hawkeye ain't gonna be living another day.
A warm stall for my horse and the best grain. And see to it you rub her down well, Ostler. I promised her that consideration for her extra duty tonight. Ah, a bit of warmth. Be prudent not to let it waste. Ben! Oh, Hawkeye!
You're the one man in the colonies I knew I could count on.
We've got to stand together, Hawkeye. Woodsman and townsman. Else, how am I ever going to convince the politicians that my plan of colonial union is vital to all of us? Ah, but come. I'll sign the register and we can discuss matters in the comfort of my room. Thank you, lass. Oh, I'll not be needing that. The heat of a pan's only temporary. And my blood still runs warm enough to keep me in snug dreams all night. Chingachgook, that hostler was either half asleep or quite deaf. I wonder if it would be asking too much of you to see that my mare is properly bedded down.
My brother Hawkeye tell me you are great white chief. That all chiefs across great white waters give you honor. But you are like Papoose. You have great love for horse, too.
Take care of a good servant, and you will have a friend that'll take care of you. Ah, thank you, lass. Room 3. Hawkeye. Good night.
Your jaw's hanging loose, Jenny.
A tyrant, no matter how minute he might be, is like a worm in an apple tree, Hawkeye. And if it's not plucked out in time, it'll engulf the whole tree, and then the orchard.
Well, we've found the worm in this tree, all right.
Then we must pluck him out. Ah, at the very bottom. A little something I invented, Hawkeye. And now I can peruse that letter you mentioned to me without having the words dance in front of me.
You'll have to wait till I find it.
Well, from the way you spoke, I assumed you had it on your person.
No, but I know where it's hidden.
Then get it, man. And if it contains all the information you've reported to me, the least we'll be able to do is get an indictment of murder against Mr. Kane. The rat scurry into his hole?
Maybe. More than likely, it's just the floor settling. But be sure and lock your door. Ryder Kane might be fool enough to try violence on you.
A farthing's worth of good advice is a more prudent investment than a pound's worth of stubborn pride. Oh, about that letter. It would be most effective if I were to have it to present to the Assembly before the election takes place.
Good night.
Good night, Hawkeye.
With those fancy spectacles Ben Franklin made, he ain't gonna be able to read that there letter.
3 to 1. That's not the kind of odds I like to be up against.
Now give it here. Cover the door! Over here! All night long. Not a word out of you. Now, for the last time, if you don't tell me what you did with that letter, I'm going to finish you off with your own rifle here.
You won't shoot, Lyman. That letter's worth your life.
Not if nobody else ever finds it. Now, I'm going to count to 3, and your tongue better be waggling before I gets there. 1, 2...
Put that rifle down. That letter's worth my life, too, Lyman. But letter or no letter, in a few hours, I'm going to be elected permanent chairman of the Assembly.
Even the permanent chairman of the Assembly can walk the steps to the gallows.
Not Ryder Kane. After today, there won't be a voice big enough to dare raise itself against me. Not even Benjamin Franklin's.
Today's young yet. You haven't been elected.
This isn't really an election, Hawkeye. I'm merely going through the formality of permitting the people to say aye in my favor. Keep working on him. If he hasn't stopped acting like a hero by the time I get back, I'll let you finish counting.
Much as I want that letter, Hawkeye, I'm kind of hoping that you won't break.
Me look everywhere. My brother Hawkeye like mist in morning sun. He disappear.
If only he told us where he was going. People are already gathering at the meeting house, which means the voting will take place within the hour. Have you seen Ryder Kane?
Last time me see him, he head into woods.
That's strange. My judgment of such a man dictates that under ordinary circumstances, he'd be lording it in the tavern at this moment.
Him not there, nor his big mouth.
Big Mouth?
Lyman, work for Kane.
Chingachgook, you find them, and I'm sure you'll find Hawkeye.
I'm not waiting for Kane.
Forgot to tell you, it isn't loaded.
Maybe not with ball and powder. There's something in here, all right. Looks like a piece of paper. Couldn't be that letter, could it? Find something to get it out.
No.
Me take many scalps for this.
Now just untie me and get me on my feet. Any scalps to be taken around here will be done by Ben Franklin.
All right, my brother.
And I consider it a great privilege to be allowed to welcome to our midst that great defender of human rights, Assemblyman at Large from Philadelphia, publisher of the Great Gazette, representative of Massachusetts and Georgia, and Deputy Postmaster General of all the colonies, Mr. Benjamin Franklin. Well, stand up, Mr. Franklin. Let the citizens of Hopeville get a good look at you.
Mr. Kane, whenever an old political warhorse like myself rises to his feet before an assemblage, he has the urge to make a speech. Do you mind?
Hopeville's a citadel of free speech, Mr. Franklin. Go right ahead.
Thank you.
And keep your ears open, a lot of you. You don't want to miss a word of this. It'll give you something to tell your children and your grandchildren.
You couldn't be more right, Mr. Kane.
Well, don't just stand there. They're not allowed here. Get rid of them. Do as I say or I'll break you. Get out of here, you two, or sit down. I'm in charge.
Seems to me that Ben Franklin still has the floor. Maybe you'd better sit down, Mr. Kane.
It is not necessary to recount the crimes committed by Ryder Kane upon the people of this community. You know what they are. It just remains for me to place the contents of this letter into the hands of the proper authority. And as fate has decreed for all tyrants since time immemorial, justice will be done. As for those words Mr. Kane promised I'd give you to hand down to posterity, let me add this, my friends. You are the citizens of a great new world. In this wilderness, you are planting the seeds of what must surely become a great and glorious civilization. Have faith in yourselves and in your neighbors.
White
And
chief
your
speak
and your
with
sons'
golden tongue.
sons
Better
for
than that,
endless
Chingachgook.
generations
With a golden
will
heart.
Thank you for their most priceless possession, their blessed inheritance of freedom.
Join us again at this same time next week for another of James Fenimore Cooper's gripping tales of the early American frontier. Another exciting adventure of Hawkeye and his blood brother, Chingachgook, last of the Mohicans. immortal pen of James Fenimore Cooper brings you thrilling tales of excitement, blazing action on the early American frontier, stirring adventures filled with the daring and courage of Hawkeye, first of the Long Rifles, and his blood brother, Chingachgook, last of the Mohicans.
Well, my compliments to you, son. You sure took care of that redskin. What happened?
He was trying to shoot you in the back. But I'm afraid I'm not in the best of shape for this sort of thing. I haven't had a go at Indian wrestling since I was a boy.
Reckon you saved us from being bushwhacked. Kind of like to know who we're thanking.
I'm Lieutenant John Ewing, Royal Rifles, en route to Fort Oshkosh.
Since when did the Army trade them red coats for buckskins?
My uniform's neatly tucked in my pack. A spanking new lieutenant like myself has to be presentable when he reports to a commandant for the first time.
Ewing. Of course, old General Ewing's boy. You couldn't be anyone else.
Why, yes. Did you know him?
Yeah. You too, when you're about that high. One of my first jobs was scouting for your pa.
He was good soldier.
And so was my grandfather before him.
Right proud to meet you, Lieutenant. I'm called Hawkeye. This is Chingachgook, my blood brother.
It's a pleasure.
More like our pleasure. I guess we wouldn't be standing here at John if you hadn't jumped on him. You'll find yourself mighty welcome at Fort Oshkosh. Folks thereabouts still remember your pa.
I requested my assignment here because I've always felt this country was home. I speak Iroquois and several other Indian tongues. I was brought up knowing all the Indian ways.
You take. Me believe your father, General. Not bring prisoner to fort. First time.
Lieutenant John Ewing reporting as ordered, sir. Well, at ease, Lieutenant. We're glad to have you with us, Ewing. Hawkeye.
Major?
How did you fare with the prisoner?
Nothing short of torture will make him open his mouth. Maybe I didn't make myself clear, Major. That Winnebago is the lieutenant's prisoner, not mine. He captured him when Chingachgook and me weren't even looking.
Single-handed, eh? Not quite, sir. I was well supported. I might not have been so brave if Hawkeye and Chingachgook weren't nearby.
Now, don't throw a bushel over your light. That redskin was drawing a bead on us. Lieutenant came along, spoiled his aim, and took him as pretty as you please.
It'll be a pleasure to report this to your father. I'd rather you wouldn't, sir. But Ewing, I'm sure your father would be most proud. It's a personal matter, sir. Oh, very well, Ewing. I have some business with Hawkeye. I want you to listen. It may brief you on some of our problems. Yes, sir. Get comfortable, Hawkeye. This may take some time. The capture of that brave, wearing war paint, confirms the rumors that the Winnebagos have joined Ely Wassett and his renegade band. Ely Wassett? That was the name of my boyhood playmate. His father was a council chief for the Seneca, Tamaqua, a signer of the peace treaty.
Tamaqua's dead. Ely Wassett has rejected the treaty and has been raising a hornet's nest ever since.
We were blood brothers, like you and Chingachgook. Why, when I left for England, he traveled 100 miles with me, just so we could be together that much longer. Lieutenant, it's unfortunate, but playful young cubs do grow up and become deadly marauders. Now, by the day after tomorrow, our ammunition wagons should leave from headquarters. They're coming by way of Big Lake. Now, without them, or if they should fall into Ely Wassett's hands, nobody in this fort would be safe.
Somebody ought to keep an eye on Ely Wassett's camp.
There isn't a scout in the fort who'd volunteer for the assignment. Ely Wassett's as sharp as a fox. And capture means death by torture. Sir, I'd like to volunteer for the assignment.
I admire your courage, Lieutenant, but this calls for experienced scouts, woodsmen.
You got him, Major.
You're always a step ahead of my request, Hawkeye. How many men do you need?
More men would just be in the road.
When can I expect you back?
Oh, a week, maybe 2. Depends on what we run into.
Well, good luck.
I'd rather have luck than brains any time, Major.
And thank you.
Bye, Lieutenant.
Could I speak to you in confidence, sir?
Oh, certainly, Lieutenant. Sit down. Oh, what's on your mind?
I'm rather embarrassed to bring this up, sir. It's that personal matter. It concerns my relationship with my father.
Are you quite sure I'm the proper person to discuss an intimate matter with?
Quite sure. You see, sir, it's a problem of being accepted for what you are.
Just because you're the Chief of Staff's son doesn't mean you'll get any special consideration under my command.
If you really mean that, Major, why did you give Hawkeye the duty I volunteered for?
Well, I merely chose the man best qualified for the job.
Without meaning any disrespect, sir, may I remind you that Hawkeye is risking his life with an enemy whom I can face as a friend.
If you're referring to Ellie Wassett, he's nobody's friend.
When Ely Wassett and I were boys together, we established a set of signals to identify each other in the woods. I haven't forgotten them, and I'm sure he hasn't. If I can only speak to him, I'm sure I can convince him to come in peacefully.
You put me between the hammer and the anvil, Ewing. If anything were to happen to you, how would I ever explain to your father that I sent a green lieutenant into the enemy's camp?
There you are, sir. My father again. If I were Lieutenant Jones and proposed this, would you let me go?
Prepare to leave. I'll have Hawkeye wait for you.
Yes, sir.
We're getting near Ely Wassett's camp. Keep your eyes peeled. He might have scouts out. Seneca. Winnebagos. Still want to powwow with that buzzard?
Under that face, the boy I knew, my blood brother.
His brother only to Wolf now. Want to sink fangs into white man.
You stay here, Lieutenant. Chingachgook and me are going to circle around, try to get in closer. We got to find out what Ely Wassett's up to.
But I came along to talk to him.
Now, you're a soldier, Lieutenant. Got to know it isn't good tactics to risk all your troops at the same time if you don't have to.
Very well. I'll wait here until you get back.
If we don't, it's up to you to get word to Major Duffy about this gathering of the tribes.
Together, the Seneca and Winnebago will bring flame and arrow to white devils everywhere. We will drive them from the land of our fathers, as Manitou wills.
If the lieutenant heard this, he wouldn't be so fired anxious to meet Ely Wassett.
It's been a long time, my blood brother. But I knew you'd never forget.
Ely Wassett never forget anything.
I promised you, the moment I got my commission, I'd come back home.
My brother is Yankee's soldier now.
Lieutenant. And this is my first assignment. To speak to you about keeping the peace. I convinced my major that two blood brothers like ourselves could smooth out the difficulties without resorting to violence.
Like time when we young, make small peace council.
Exactly. I knew you'd see it this way once we got together again. Return with me to Fort Oshkosh, Ely Wassett. Bring some of your warriors. These chiefs, too. Now that we're both grown up,
we can have a big peace council.
Looks like he might get away with it after all. Never before me see sheep pull fangs of wolf.
How many warriors I bring?
10, 15, a guard of honor befitting a leader like yourself. Major Duffy will be more than pleased to welcome you.
All want go to fort. I not know which to choose.
You know your warriors better than I do, Illiwassett. Why not select the bravest for this honor?
I choose Keris, Antate. You want go to fort? Need gun, not lance.
You won't need any weapons.
You wrong. Need plenty weapon when take fort.
Take the fort? You can't mean what you're saying, my blood brother.
No white man Illiwassett's blood brother. Illiwassett cut blood tie 12 moon ago. White men come to my father's teepee, filled with firewater. Shoot Tamaqua, kill my mother. And now Illiwassett kill all white men. And you, Yankee soldier, tell where get gun for warpath. Take him to torture stick. Blood of Illiwassett in his veins make him brave much torture. But him still white man. Hart, like rabbit, make tongue tell everything. We go now. Get wagons, get many guns. We get guns!
Follow. See what they're up to. And you, my brother, I'm gonna go pick up what's left of our friend.
Well, there's only one thing we can do now, Hawkeye. March towards Big Lake. At least we might be able to help those wagons get through. Sound General Quarters, full packs, battle order.
Too late to help wagons now. Illiwassett captured. Kill everybody.
No, I'll have to accept Ewing's resignation. Such a fine, promising career. And he had to throw it all away because he was too weak a soldier to die with his lips sealed.
Indian torture, much cruel.
They can make a man forget he's got a soul, let alone loosen his tongue.
Yes, but if he'd only listened to you instead of signaling Illiwassett.
I reckon you or me might have done the same thing. Pretty hard to believe that your own blood brothers turned into a dirty double-crossing snake.
Well, actually, I'm as much to blame as he is. I should never have let him go with you in the first place.
Yeah, I reckon I was wrong, too. I shouldn't have left him alone. Where's the lieutenant now?
Packing. Well, what's done is done. We can't sit here lamenting. The order for General Quarters stands. I want every able-bodied man ready within half an hour.
Major, that's an order you ought to think over. You're leaving the fort awful easy pickings with no one to defend it.
I have no choice.
Well, that depends on what Illiwassett's up to.
Me follow Illiwassett and braves to camp. They make victory dance.
Victory dance. If I know anything about Winnebagos, there's no telling how long they'll keep celebrating. They sit around talking and boasting about what they're going to do next.
In that case, attack is my best defense. We'll take them by surprise.
Not in redcoats, Major. Out in the forest, they're a little too bright to surprise anyone. It's a job for the militiamen.
I have more than 20 under my command.
Well, that's plenty for what I got in mind.
Well, I've always respected your judgment when it comes to Indian fighting, Hawkeye. I'll issue the orders. When do you plan to leave?
After nightfall. And just in case Illiwassett's got a couple of braves watching us, we'll leave by the back way. I'll see you then. Oh, you going someplace?
You know as well as I do that I resigned my commission.
Yeah, the major did say something about it.
Did he tell you, had I not resigned, I'd have had to face a court-martial?
Well, as much as I know about those court-martials, Lieutenant, I reckon they're the same as any other kind of trial. You gotta be proven guilty before you're convicted.
Nothing has to be proved in my case. I admit my guilt. I admit divulging a military secret. I admit I'm not a soldier in the Ewing tradition.
No, you didn't exactly volunteer those answers to Ely Wassett. Bigger and stronger men than you have cracked wide open when tied to a torture stake.
Leave me alone, Hawkeye. I'm not worthy of your sympathy.
Well, I didn't come here to dole out any of that. I came here to ask your help.
Help? From me?
It's pretty rare finding men who know the woods around here like you. I need men like that if Ely Wassett's ever to be stopped.
I don't belong in the forest. I was wrong when I thought this was my home. This place is through with me, and I'm through with it. I'm going to get as far away from it as I can.
Well, I don't blame you for thinking that way, after the beating you took. Chingachgook and me and a handful of militia are going out tonight, after Ely Wassett. No matter what you think about yourself, I'd be right proud to have you alongside me. Well, if you happen to change your mind, why, give me a holler.
Well, good hunting, Hawkeye. I only wish I was going with you.
Someone's got to stay and look after the store, Major. You seen anything of Ewing?
Yes, he left this afternoon.
Say where he was headed?
He mentioned someplace out west. Someplace the Indians call Kentucky.
Oh, I wish he'd told me that. Got an old friend down there he could have looked up, a fellow by the name of Daniel Boone.
If he here to fight by side of Hawkeye, militiamen not need to leave warm bed.
I'm afraid this is one time, Chingachgook, when you're going to need all the firepower you can muster.
Now, stop fretting, Major. We'll get out of this mess yet. Somehow, when you're on the side of right, you usually come out on top.
Well, good luck.
Big snow cover everything. Me scout from here to Bendin River. No tracks.
Yeah, we'll have to move carefully after that point.
White man come. Be ready. No shoot. Seneca medicine man. Before you ambush.
Hear me, white man. Gitche Manitou sent his curse on you. Death is your lot. You cannot escape his vengeance.
Keep the men here. I'm gonna see if I can get that fella to swallow some of his own medicine.
Hear me, Manitou. An enemy approaches. Make his knees like water. Cause his blood to run cold.
You've been doing a powerful heap of gabbing, medicine man. Suppose you listen to me for a change.
Don't you recognize me, Hawkeye?
Ewing. Deploy.
You're heading straight into Ely-Wassett and his braves.
I hurl the lance of war into the ground that will mark your grave.
Take back your lance, medicine man. Tell your people we don't want war.
Where's he hidden?
You must die. Behind me, to your left.
Manitou wants peace, just as we do. Where'd you get that outfit?
Had to be in its original owner.
I spit on you and all white men.
Hurry, take cover. They won't shoot while I'm here.
Hear me, Manitou. Make our arms strong. Let not the guns of enemy touch my people. Curse all white men. Give us their scalps to adorn our lodges. We will roam free, as did our fathers.
We're surrounded like sitting ducks. Don't make any sudden moves, but ease toward cover.
Hear me, O Manitou. I dance to you.
Him no medicine man.
Shoot! Shoot!
First, you want to kill. Now try help. Why?
I didn't want to kill you. It was my duty.
After him!
And no matter what you've done, I can't hate you. You're still the blood brother of my boyhood.
Hawkeye!
My blood and your blood go into earth. And with it, Ely-Wassett's hate. Maybe one day, under kind eye of Manitou, in the happy hunting ground, we be blood brothers again.
And so, for rendering service beyond the call of duty, it is recommended that Lieutenant John Ewing be awarded the Medal of Parliament. A full account of his heroic act accompanies this recommendation. Signed, Major Richard Duffy, Commanding Officer, Fort Oshkosh. The original of that letter was sent to General Alfred Ewing, Chief of Staff.
You'll be proud that I've joined the ranks of the Ewings, just as I am, sir.
Oh, by the way, Lieutenant, while we're at it, we may as well make something else official. I came across this among my effects the other day. Can't imagine how it got there. Some nonsense about your resignation.
If you don't mind my saying, Major, sounds like something one of those Seneca medicine men would have done.
Medicine men do many strange things.
Join us again at this same time next week for another of James Fenimore Cooper's gripping tales of the early American frontier. Another exciting adventure of Hawkeye and his blood brother, Chingachgook, Last of the Mohicans.